I made a 4-page improvement. This is a coda. I laid my dog down, not far from where he curled up kinda dead. Wiped a bead of sweat from my forehead. I set the scenes with the tiny details like, I wrote in one hell of a poem, I was all like, the only friend I've ever known. I stubbed my fag into freshly fucked with dirt, turned on my heel and headed back to my massive house to write more poetry and smoke some savage potpourri. I hear a noise behind me, like skeletal paws clawing furiously beneath 3 feet of shallow grave, the way everybody remembers that sound from their childhood. I hear lots of things, and some of them are freaky on account of the potpourri, but I've never heard anything, nothing or nobody sound like this monstrosity. There's me fucking Newfoundland that I just now buried, staring at me, slabbering sickly, his eye socket saying, I am Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, bark! Being Byron and all, I naturally have the most use. I was all like, ride me sideways. So I raised my shovel above my head as if to say, what's the crack with this? I thought you were dead. I struck him limp on the pate of his fluffy crown. I crouched down and I dug the spade square in his muzzle with the sharp end of the shovel, doing the Lord's work like. Plus I read somewhere that the only way to discipline a dog is with a soft cautionary flick on the nose. Anywhere else is cruel. But being Byron, I struck him with too much passion and I split his skull straight through the middle. This does not seem to sparkle with my recently resurgent canis. He growls, I'm Lazarus, come back from the dead. Come to tell you all, I will tell you all. This is for every time you only pretended to throw the tennis ball. And he comes at me, and the cunt bites my leg. So I take the urn, upon which I had inscribed yonder poem I made mention of earlier, and I cry dramatically and fierce sexy, being Byron, you maggoty inbred fucking cur, I've seen your birth cert, you only have one grandmother. Both sides. And I scattered him with the urn, square in the skull I struck him, but he keeps coming, such tenacity. Being Byron's dog, I suppose he reminds me of me, which I've always found to be a winning quality. Now, being Byron's squire, I've come to find discretion is the most indispensable element of valour, so I do a burner and I peg it for the tool shed. That's where I keep my tools. It's stocked to the gunnels with an exhaustive arsenal of the tricks of the trade of canine carcass disposal because, seriously, when you write as much poetry as me and smoke as much potpourri as me, neglected pets are a surprisingly common casualty. Let's face it. He follows me to the tool shed because he's a zombie and he's hungry for brains, and to a lesser degree because his actions are bound by the chains of the narrative arc of this here hackneyed story. So I'm all like in the shed and shit, strapping shotguns and C4 and railguns to the inside of my flak smoking jacket and dynamite and sticks of Viagra and rows of Pro Plus and Xanax and Gaviscon, and I knock back a belt of that sweet, sweet antacid, sniff some glue, and I take 1, 2, 3 deep breaths, dramatic breaths, great big poetic breaths, acting all like I'm sick to my tits of living and only keep going out of apathy and spite. I turn the latch and I step out into the night with my back to the barn as time turns to treacle. Every animal I ever shot rises from the earth about my feet. Tigers with eyes that blaze bright and lightless. The horses I drugged lifeless with my merciful medical instruments. That pink bull elephant I filled full of buckshot when I was filled drunk on buckfast wraps its trunk about my thighs. My pet feather boa that I slit lengthways for trying to strangle me becomes the resurrection and continues fucking trying to strangle me. I drop to my knees, my blood bubbles as I see double every star in the swirling sky. I realise there are but 2 more yet to die, 2 words yet to say. As I scan the dark with the point of my rifle, I stare my last along the barrel and cry, here boy.